Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to.
Join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical, transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is pod number 91. My name is Jay, and I'm here with my co-host, with the most, as always, Lita Herman.
Woo!
You like that dramatic pause?
I did. That was very dramatic.
Yes. Well, we're doing metal today. It was a thoughtful pause.
A thoughtful pause. Yes, I like
that. I took my time and I put some space into that.
I like that. That we're getting in the metal mood for today.
Not too heavy metal.
Oh, right.
Mood.
Heavy metal, not too heavy metal.
Not too heavy, but we'll do a little metal. I'm just teasing.
Which heavy metal music is also metal.
Yes.
Okay.
Very metal.
So today we're building on our last few podcasts, which is about how each elemental type will feel about entering the mystery gate, which is a metaphor for being willing to enter the unknown within yourself.
Yeah, this is the first step in stage 1 of alchemy as well.
Yes, and we're building the mystery. All right.
Yes, that was great. That was Lita, not me.
And today
I was doing harmonies.
We have to sing in every podcast.
Yes.
This is great. All right, so today we're moving on to metal. And if you haven't been following this series, go back to pod 87, where we talked about the first step of alchemy, which is entering the mystery gate. And it's about really examining yourself in the darkness, the unknown. But the way we do that is different depending on our temperaments or our elemental makeup.
Yeah, but before we begin, we want to encourage you, if you haven't heard pod 87, go back, listen, and continue from that podcast. But we'll wait. Ding.
Ding.
I'm not even going
okay.
I'm not
all right. We're not waiting that long.
We're still here. So we're here. Yeah, hopefully you fast forwarded from 87 and you've gotten into this little mini series that we're doing inside of this season, which is season number
5.
5. That's a good
all right.
number.
So the idea here is depending on whether you're wood, fire, earth, metal, or water, you're going to have different monsters in your dark
little goblins.
Tunnel. Yeah, little goblins.
Monsters.
Creepy crawly things.
Things in the shadows.
Yeah, dark shadowy things.
Or nothing at all.
Or nothing
Which
at
can
all.
be scary.
Yeah, what are your scary things in the dark tunnel? And that's the dark tunnel that you enter into when you cross over through the mystery gate.
And how do we deal with that so we can have the courage to keep walking the dark, Lita? Why don't you tell us how we can do that?
Yeah, and that is the point, Jay, having the courage to continue to walk in the dark. What can help people feel safe? So just to review, for those of you that are new to the podcast, you might not know a lot about the 5 elements. So the 5 elements help your curriculum of your lessons for this lifetime. And these are energetic. So we're talking energetically, who you are truly. And you choose your curriculum before you were born. And so far in this lifetime, you've probably spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out what your purpose in life is, what this curriculum is really about.
Or you've had a lot of people around you trying to figure it out for you.
Yeah.
Maybe your parents, siblings, they might have told you to do this, do that. And you're supposed to be doing something else.
Yeah,
completely different from what you want to do.
Yeah, everybody's full of advice.
And if you're metal, guess what? That is not going to fly.
No, it's true because metals really march to their own drum.
Sure, maybe like a steel pan drum.
Yes, a
right?
steel pan drum. So it's likely if you're metal, your curriculum has everything to do with respect and honor, but also freedom to be unique and different, or at least a chameleon who can change all the time.
Yeah, and they want to be that chameleon on that magic carpet ride.
Yeah. And it's hard to fit in, society and maybe your family, sometimes they don't respect this way of being, which is so much about being yourself and stop the BS. There's so much BS going on.
Really good BS detectors.
Yeah. And they just want sincerity in the world. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
But parents, and teachers and friends, they're always telling metals what they should be doing, who they should be, and to stop being so floaty and
I think quiet sometimes. They look withdrawn.
Yeah.
And they're just really observing and being quiet and hanging back.
Yeah. And, I've had metals tell me that they don't want to be seen that way. They don't want to look like they're aloof. They don't feel that way. So they're often misunderstood.
I think that's a good way of saying
Really
it.
misunderstood in the world. And so you may feel like this if you're metal. You may feel like people in the world are trying to get you to be someone you're not. And maybe you're even trying to help be that person that they want you to be. But you're constantly being bombarded with a lot of things. And metals don't like that. Metals, like the quiet and maybe not too much bombarding at the same time.
If they get pushed too hard, they might just want to get under the covers and read a book.
Yeah.
For like 6 months.
Yeah.
And not come out. They just want to be a little isolated, a little quiet.
And it's possible your whole life you've not really matched what, people expected you to be. Maybe they wanted you to be a lot more social than you felt. And maybe you became a teacher, which is a very social job.
Sure.
It's a great job for earth or fire or even water. Even wood would be a good teacher. And metals do become teachers a lot because sometimes that's a way they can get respect.
Sure.
And they get to sort of tell the world, hey, I'm being a social being. But really, that could be an exhausting job for them. It might just be too much activity, too much socializing, too much output. So maybe, you console yourself by focusing on how you enjoy the one-on-one. So a lot of metal teachers tell me they love the one-on-one work.
Yeah.
Not the big classroom work, but just getting to know one person at a time, one student at a time, one-on-one discussions. Mm-hmm. And whether you're a teacher or not, this is where metal really shines in these one-on-one engaging conversations. And so, whether or not you have a career that matches you or not, you might still be pursuing the part of you that you really truly are, which is, again, great connection in these one-on-one discussions.
Being of service to maybe people their growth and their evolution.
Yes.
And if you're not in alignment with that, then what do you do? If you're stuck in your career that you don't really like and you're not in alignment, well, maybe it's time to take a little examination. And that's what this podcast is about today.
Yes.
How about a non-judgmental way?
A non-judgmental way.
Non-judgmental. You get that? You got that. That's pretty good.
Well, a lot of metals can feel judgmental about the world. That's one of the things that's kind of a drawback of being metal. It's very easy.
That's a challenge.
It's a challenge, yes.
But wait, Lita. Before we do any more on metal, let's do a little Alchemy Learning Center news, a little bit of the podcast news, just to keep people updated about what's going on.
Good. Yes, let's do it.
So please, if you have a moment and you enjoy this podcast at all, if you've had a chuckle, a laugh, maybe enjoy Lita's singing. I know it's not my singing, but if you enjoy Lita's singing, you could maybe just take a second and do a quick write and review on iTunes. It lets us know people are listening, and it really helps other people from all over the world find this little podcast.
And it's amazing. We have people literally from all over the world, every continent. People in Africa, people in Asia. People in Europe, everywhere, and we're just in Massachusetts.
That's the world headquarters of the Inspired Action podcast.
And we've been able to influence and talk with people all over the world. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah. And we have some really cool stuff. We have this website, alchemylearningcenter.com, which also has, if you haven't been listening recently, a new app in the App Store. Yes.
What a surprise.
An app in the App Store
2 years
and Google
in the
Play.
making.
Yes.
Woohoo!
You can download it from the App Store or Google Play, and it's got classes on it, meditations on it, books, free webinars. It has Qigong. We're going to be adding Tai Chi soon. There's lots of different things we've got going on there.
Yeah, the Dao Yin Qigong exercises that you can do for free. There's there's meditations on there.
Yep.
And we have some really cool webinars and long classes on alchemy, ghost points, all kinds of cool things. 5 elements, 9 palaces. So if you dig what we're talking about, it's all right there in the alchemylearningcenter.com.
And the classes are really for both practitioners and non-practitioners. So you're welcome to take any class you would like, but there are definitely some for acupuncturists, massage therapists, any kind of healer out in the world that's interested in what we're doing. Understanding the 5 elements is our favorite class, because even if you know the 5 elements really well, I think you'll really enjoy the class because
I call it the gateway drug, is the 5 elements.
Yeah. Yeah, to alchemy.
If you get into the 5 elements, then how about the mystery gate drug?
Yes.
Right now, it's just knowledge and fun, and we have a good way. We do it very light, but still pack a lot into it.
Yeah, and we really think that the way we do the elements is really based on our alchemical background, and we really love how the elements ties in to all the work we're doing with alchemy. So if you like the podcast, you're going to love the very entertaining Understanding the 5 Elements class, and we have one on the 9 palaces as well.
Yes, we do. And we have one on releasing chaotic energy. We have so much. You got to go check it out. alchemylearningcenter.com.
Maybe we need a jingle.
A jingle. Put that on your list.
Okay.
All right. Back to our regularly scheduled podcast here. Back to the metal. We want to be more precise in our scripting today.
Let's get it together, Jay.
But wait, one more second. If you do...
We're all over the place.
We're all over the place. Take a second, rate and review on iTunes. It really helps. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's all I had to say on that.
Okay. I'm excited about today because being like metal is a bit like Where the Wild Things Are book.
I love that book.
I know. I knew you were going to say that. Where the Wild Things Are book. It's perfect. It's like, this is what we're talking about. It's about being afraid of the monsters under the bed, on one level.
We picked Enter the Mystery Gate. We could have picked Where are the Wild Things Behind the Mystery Gate.
Yes, the wild things behind.
That title was taken.
Yes. So, the monsters on one level, we can be afraid of them, but they also want to be your friends, maybe.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
If they don't eat you first.
Yes. And we also have an odd attraction to the darkness, especially sometimes metals. They do enjoy the darkness. They're the vampires who, sleep all day and, party all night kind of people. So not always, but they can be. And they like sometimes dark things in general. Dark humor is very metal.
Yes.
And then sarcastic humor, things like that. So there's a potential, when you do the Mystery Gate meditation, for a lot of fear to come up. And so we might be fearful of being overwhelmed by things that are unknown and mysterious.
Sure. Overcome, overwhelmed, just kind of overdone. Sure.
And metals in general, they are like clouds. They don't have a boundary around them that's really, rigid. It's a permeable boundary, like wispy clouds. And so things kind of infiltrate them from the exterior into the interior more easily than maybe some other of the elements. And we call this like having clouds on the outside. But they're really strong inside.
Sure.
They just look cloudy and misty on the outside. So they're
just a little misty.
They're a little misty. So there's not a firm boundary around them. So other people's energy can really affect them. And in this way, going into the dark mystery tunnel might not be scary so much because of what's in the tunnel, but that somehow they'll be overtaken by something and then be lost.
Yeah, and I think like the wood energy types, they can be more concerned about safety than fires and earth, those types of energy. Those elemental types. But in a way, it's not so much their physical safety as perhaps a wood person. It's more their energetic safety.
What a good point. I like that.
And you mentioned the vampires. I was thinking about the energetic vampires that suck the life out of you.
Yeah. And so, what if those goblins in the tunnel were going to somehow possess you? And, that's scary, right? And that would be a metal fear, perhaps. Or what if those creepy crawly things were going to bite you and some parasites get in?
Well, that's not cool.
Yeah. So there's this feeling of needing to protect oneself.
I don't think anyone would want that.
Right.
No one's going to be like, hey, yeah, let them, but invade my body.
But this podcast is really about what is a typical fear. Yes. And so a fire person's not thinking about that.
Right.
Necessarily.
I would say for metal. Yeah. The invasion of the body snatchers. Probably written by a metal person.
There you go. So you can easily see how this plays out in the world. Just, let's say you just go to a flea market, which metals love flea markets, by the way, because they love antiques and old things.
Nostalgia. I'm just throwing things at it today. Just nostalgia.
So they go to the flea market or someplace like that, And there's just so much energy, and it can feel a little overwhelming. And it's not that they're going to avoid it entirely, because again, they love the old stuff. They love the antiques. So a good flea market is great.
Or an antique show.
Yes. But then they have to deal with the energy, the intense energy of all those people. So it's difficult to actually go there and put out their energy talking to all those people as well. It's a very social event. If you're going to bargain with people and try to get your antiques, it's a lot of output as well. And that also can be tiring for metal. So every time you meet someone new, you have to kind of solidify those clouds around you to keep that boundary between you and the new person. And that can feel exhausting. And, that's even when you're meeting with nice people. But what happens when you meet nasty, mean people, which really gets to metal people? They really don't like that.
They just get shut down really fast sometimes.
And they're so affected by, angry people, and that anger can get into you.
Unfairness. Remember we talked about the parking spot before in the past? Someone parked the wrong space.
The wood person.
Hey.
The wood person parked.
I do that 100 or 200 times, and you're always picking me on that. I can't help it. No, it's not me. I follow the rules.
I'm picking on you. I'm not picking on you.
Yes, right. No, so they don't like that. They would be like, it's unfair. So if they get yelled at or, scolded or challenged, they don't really like confrontation as well.
Yeah.
Very non-confrontational.
Yes, but what happens is if someone comes at them with anger, it gets in them, and then they harbor the anger in themselves and have a sense of disgruntledness about a lot of people and things. And then they let that fester for a long time until, they let it out. And that's not pretty. So, and even if you don't see monsters in your mystery tunnel, you may have a lot of disturbing memories and regrets if you're metal, because that's another thing that might show up in the mystery tunnel. Stuff that is under the surface but comes up again quite easily. Maybe, when you were angry about something a very long time ago that happened, and now you're in the tunnel and these memories come up. So metal has a hard time forgiving sometimes, even though forgiveness is the metal virtue.
And I think sometimes, don't get mad at me, metal, that they act like they have forgiven you.
But
they're nice to you
don't
socially.
Forget.
But they don't forget. Yeah, they're like, and I don't want to say they have that rapier ready to go pointy, but sometimes they'll just come right back at you. Slice and dice.
Says the wood who's afraid of being chopped.
Yeah, slice and dice by
Be
them.
gentle with your wood friends, metals. That's all I can say.
Yeah, we look tough, but we're not.
They're very tough on the outside, but they're marshmallows on the inside.
Yeah, so if you take that rapier and you poke a marshmallow,
guess what?
Put it over the campfire.
You get a gooey mess.
Yeah, we are toasted.
You get a gooey mess. All right, so forgiveness, again, is one of the advanced virtues of metal, because true forgiveness is the metal maturity path. But it's not easy for metal. And it's a very high level of self-cultivation to truly forgive and forget about all the wrongs that have been done to you.
So, Lita, what do you think metal will likely find in the dark tunnel? Just, a general.
Well, the real question is, why would metal want to embark on this journey into the mystery gate to begin with?
I know the answer. Do you want me to say it?
Yes.
I would guess freedom.
Freedom.
Perfect. See? Got it. Freedom.
Perfect. Because harboring these gripes against people from your past, this ties you down. It shackles you. You've got shackles on your ankles. You've got ballasts that keep you from flying on your magic carpet ride in life. Just think of all the anger that you might have inside and how it's really stopping you from flying. And in fact, more than any other element, metal just wants to be free to roam, free to be who they truly are and not have to fit into society's rules about social politeness and niceness. And the irony is, metals are truly the nicest people, but only out of a sense of obligation. In fact, they'd rather just sit and watch society instead of partake in it. But society doesn't let them, and then they just want to run away entirely, which some do.
And some drop out.
Yeah.
of society.
Like
yeah.
Jay told me about a movie I haven't seen yet, Nomadland.
Yes.
Where there's a lot of metals, I guess, in that movie.
Definitely. Yeah. If you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
it's not the feel-good movie of 2021.
No.
But if you're into the 5 elements and you are metal or have a little metal in the top 3 or know someone who's metal, I just thought it was fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah, it's about the people who really just sort of like, you know, I don't know if I can say this, F this, I'm out, I'm just doing my thing, I'm going to go roam.
Oh, yeah. They fly the finger all the time.
Yeah. So
all the time. They're like the rebels, the energetic rebels.
Does flying the finger help the magic carpet ride fly?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Absolutely. Fueled by the finger.
So they become a hermit on a mountain somewhere or an alchemist.
Sure.
Yeah. And so having a sense of freedom is freedom to be that person who can at one moment be totally into something social and the next minute not want to talk at all. It's about freedom to go wherever you feel like going, literally like you're being blown in the wind.
Without those social obligations tying you down, holding you back, just being free. And a lot of metal people that I work with, they really want that, but they don't have that.
Right. Now, more importantly, freedom is forgiveness, which brings a peace inside. So the peace feels like openness. Real forgiveness is truly letting go. And what's even harder is truly forgetting. So for metal, it's the forgetting that's the most difficult because history, as we said, it's so important for metals. They're the ones who want to learn from the past. But alchemy challenges us to not just forgive, but to forget, to stop carrying around the weight of memory, to free our memories so that we can participate in the world like children do without some preconceived notion of what the future will bring. So we often say your heart has this open space inside it. And unfortunately, for many metals, it's filled with old junk.
No, antiques.
Antiques, right. Okay, I'm calling it junk. But really, they're the hurts that they're hanging on to. So, okay, you can hang on to the nice ones, but at least dump the hurts.
Yeah.
It's time to have a yard sale.
But don't you think they're attached to memories or nostalgia? They're not always painful.
They're not
also
always
positive,
painful. Right.
In some way for them.
And technically in alchemy, we even want to let go of some of those pleasant memories because it clogs us up. It's like being a bit of a pack rat. And, maybe you need to even let those go.
Which could be a little bit different than the water hoarders.
Yes.
So we have the pack rats and the
right.
hoarders.
But, I will
they
just
sound
say.
like neighbors.
Yes. But just a more convincing argument about letting go of the hurts is that, it's similar to the way metals love to examine where they came from, their lineage. There's a ton of people who are metal who do genealogy. They love these Ancestry.com type of websites and things like that.
.com.
Yeah. And
there's a ton of them right now. There's a lot of them.
And it's fun. They love to know where they came from. But is that lineage limiting you by giving you an identity you don't want? What if your ancestors did bad things? Maybe you see that in the tunnel, and now you hold on to that guilt and shame for them. That's maybe your lineage is in that tunnel and it's not good. So like the ancestral lineage, the pain you experienced in this lifetime can also be something you're holding on to because it's your identity. And metals, more than anyone else, just have a hard time forgetting what's happened in the past and truly letting go.
So would you say the real growth and evolution of the metal person is to take that old junk, air quotes, I'm saying antiques and collectibles, okay, that you got from the Salvation Army or the antique fair or the flea market and just be rid of it, be free, disconnect from the lineage of their families even, discover who they truly are in this lifetime without the baggage of the ancestors? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Just wanted to recap that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So now this stage of alchemy isn't yet about letting go to that extent. So
can they let go easily, like the letting go meditation?
Not that easily necessarily. I mean, it's actually the forte of metal is to let go.
Right.
Because every time you take a breath, the lungs is metal. Every time you take a breath, you breathe in. And guess what? You exhale.
You gotta let it out.
So you have to let go. Yeah. So that's a strength. However, it's not that easy for metals because they believe that history is essential. And we're going to say that we're not quite asking you to let it all go yet. That's a very high level of work, and it will be addressed in stage 2 of alchemy. We're just working on the first step of stage 1. So don't worry about having to let go of everything. We're just saying you might see some monsters in your tunnel that have to do these old things.
All you need to do is understand that there are monsters in the tunnel.
Yes.
And if you're metal, it's about perhaps facing the fact that you're the one hanging on to those monsters.
And it's at least looking into the cave and assessing the amount of junk piled up there.
Stop saying junk.
Air quotes.
That's like the ponchos. Don't say the junk. We're going to get like...
It is.
Right,
it's
right.
the metal ponchos.
Oh,
okay.
Let go of those beautiful old ponchos.
The beautiful antiques.
The vintage ponchos.
The vintage ponchos.
Your metal earth, don't come for me, please. No, I'm just teasing. You know I love you.
So,
I have a lot of metal friends. So wood and metal can get along very nicely.
Yes. And the goal here is not to be afraid. The goal is to keep walking through the tunnel. And what's going to make you feel safe? What is going to help you let go of some of these old hurts so that you'll continue walking through the tunnel into your unknown?
What if they want to walk through the tunnel with a sword, like a rapier or, because they're metal. They just want to...
Why not? It's their tunnel. They could do that.
Okay.
If it makes them feel
Leah
safe.
has given you permission. All right. That's great. So that's our metal on this right here, this little mini series we're doing. Next up is water. Look out, water. We're coming.
I'm having a vision of them slaying the dragons of the past.
Ah, there you go.
There you go.
Right. The knight there, the knight in shining armor.
Yes. The knight in shining armor is metal.
Yes.
So there you go.
All right.
Okay.
On that note, we're going to leave you here. So have fun. We'll talk soon and we'll do water next. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Stay warm wherever you are. You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast, and you've reached the end. Woohoo! Why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there. We love having you with us on this journey, and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast, and if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews, and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation, and thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and remember to hug the dog.